Remember, kids, always work with a clean workbench, unless you share the workbench with your dad, in which case you both have to end up cleaning it up about once every few years after it turns into an absolute nightmare. But I'm not going to be cleaning it, I'm going to be doing something else. So come on with me and we'll do that thing instead. Alrighty, so in my basement I have one working Mac. Oh, the power went out. One working Mac. Two working Macs. Technically 3 working Macs, but this one, the disk drive is kind of like not really working too well. In fact, it doesn't read anything, so I want to install Mac OS X and I already have the disks for it, but the problem is I can't use the disk drive. So we're going to butcher a disk drive into this thing to make it work, and then install Mac OS X. So that's going to be a thing, and I think that just booted up. Maybe? Or just white screened. That's worrying. Alright, let's fix this one and then we'll deal with that one at some other point. Oh, nope, it booted. So let's fix this one. Ooh. Alrighty, here we go. This thing's like 40 pounds. It's really heavy. So what even is this thing? Well, long story short, it's an iMac. It's a very old iMac, actually. This is the oldest Mac in my collection. This is a 1998 iMac Model 1,1, meaning it is the first generation of the entire iMac lineup. This was kind of Apple's whole reinventing themselves after Steve Jobs came back, so that way they were no longer the, failing company of the 90s. It works actually surprisingly well. It boots up, the hard drive is loud, the CRT is old and clicks whenever it turns on. It's got USB, so I can actually plug in a keyboard and mouse, which I'll be doing soon to show you guys some of the stuff in it. It's got a whopping 4 GB hard drive, if I remember correctly. Speakers that sound like they're broken, but that's actually how they're supposed to sound. And a disk drive that actually is broken. So I don't have the money right now. I have the money. I don't have the resources right now to find a functional IDE disk drive, so that's a problem because I want to install Mac OS X. I've already burned the disks and everything for it, but I don't have a disk drive that can read it. So we'll be ripping this apart and kind of Frankensteining in a really old CD drive that is IDE. I think it's a DVD drive actually, but either way we'll be Frankensteining it in here and hopefully getting it to work. So we'll see. So follow me along with that, won't you? Alrighty. So just to show you guys here, I have an old school Apple mouse. It's not the Pro mouse, it's just the mouse. No right click, just a single clicky button up top. And then this, actually, the same keyboard design they used since like 2006 that they've only just recently updated. But it all works on this, and that's, shouldn't be too impressive until you realize that when I turn this on, it's actually running 10.8, I think. Whew, man, listen to that boot up noise. Oh, there's the little Macintosh. And yes, this is running Mac OS 8.6. It is that old. I think this shipped with Mac OS 8.3, and it's been updated to 8.6, but we have not, I have not been able to actually upgrade it to 10 anything yet. And I want to get it up to Mac OS 10, but I haven't been able to do that yet. And that was kind of the point of today's project. So I guess a seizure warning's in order, but take a look over here. We've got RAM, which is, I don't even know what we've got. That's disk cap. I don't know what's going on with memory. I think I have 256 gigabytes of memory or something weird like that. But it's running at 2.33 megahertz. Man, that is something. I go over here to devices and volume. Takes a minute to load, good God. And the Mac OS hard drive, that is a whopping 4 gigabytes. Where is that at? I don't even see where it's at. Oh man, this thing is so old. Well, take my word for it. It's a 4 gigabyte drive. It's tiny. Is it this? Yeah, there it is. 4 measly gigabytes. So essentially, with this drive being dead, I'm gonna have to find a replacement at some point. Obviously, I can't keep, trying to jerry-rig anything. This is just something that Apple has put in their machine that I need to buy a replacement for in order to make it work. But that's not an option right now, so I'm gonna have to find something else. Now, newer machines, the connector they use for disk drives is something called a SATA port, or SATA, whatever. And what that is that allows you to take a very small cable and carry a lot of data through it, and it works for disk drives, hard drives, I guess just disk drives and hard drives. But what they used to use was this type of cable called an IDE cable. As you can see, it's very wide, but it's very thin. So in a machine like this, it's perfect, because you have a fair amount of space to work within. But this is the type of connector they use. Now, this being a very small interior, comparatively. I mean, most machines at the time were a dedicated desktop, and then this was just the size of the monitor. They put an entire machine in this, which was really cool for its time. The cable that it uses is very short, and that's for both the hard drive and the disk drive. So my plan, hopefully it works, is to run this end to the board, run this end to the hard drive, and then with that extra length I've got here, be able to run this out of the hole at the front for the disk drive and plug this in. Hopefully I'll have power to run to it. If not, I'm going to have to get another computer with another power supply and make an even more sketchy rig. But yeah, that's essentially the plan. And then once I get this disk drive connected to it, that's water running. Okay, cool. Go ahead and use the sink while I'm recording. But once I get this connected, I'll be able to actually, hopefully, use this drive and actually install everything I need to install. So, next thing to do is tear this machine apart. Let's do it. Something worth noting is how awesome the shutdown sound is.
Attention. Are you sure you want to shut down your computer now?
Almost every single thing that you do that kicks up a warning has that thing that pops up first and foremost, so I always find that hilarious. Yeah, so I actually looked up the weight of this entire machine as a whole, and this thing weighs 40 pounds. It's all packed in here, and of course they include a little plastic handle at the top for you to carry it with, but I don't think anybody would be carrying a machine this size around, just a thought. And one of the nice things they did with this is there's actually a handle here, and ideally, if I undid all the screws correctly, which there should only be one, the whole bottom plate should come off. Even though it seems like you're breaking it. Or maybe I am breaking it this time. Oh, shoot. It's supposed to come straight up. And it's not, of course. That's part of why I hate working on 20-year-old hardware. I didn't break anything. Hallelujah. Yeah, they put a little handle here. You're supposed to just kind of yark on that and it comes off. And it's going to be a whole nother adventure putting this back on, because you got to line up all these little plastic tabs and everything and try not to break them. And yay. Alright, now for this. This is actually really clever. So in order to run the monitor from, the top into the logic board, They literally just ran a cable underneath and connected it, which, you know, nowadays with Apple's super, you know, sleek connect the cables or solder the, you know, RAM to the board, all that kind of stuff, you'd never see this. Though some of their later models, while it was proprietary, they actually still used a connector from the monitor to the logic board, so you could still disconnect the screen to service it and things like that, if you're willing to dig past all the adhesive. I kind of miss the old days. Alright, so this is your monitor. You've got a very dusty fan that, despite having tried to clean it off, it just does not want to stay clean. And all of this, actually, this is the main body of the machine. It houses the power supply, and the CRT monitor, and all the dangerous stuff that I'm not going to be messing with. This is all, like, all that is housed up in here. And then underneath... underneath is what we're here for. This is the logic board. This is it. So the board's up here. You've got expandable memory for the actual graphics chip. Imagine if this had caught on. Like, you buy your graphics card and, you know, a new game comes out and, well, you know, 2 gigs just isn't enough. You can buy a card to upgrade that. That would have been such a cool thing to catch on, but this was so old. I think this is like a couple K or maybe a megabyte of video memory. Oh, as I drop it. This is like maybe a couple megabytes of video memory that they literally made detachable from the board. So you could actually, if you wanted to, which I don't know if any expansions ever came out for it, but you could actually upgrade your ATI 3D Rage 2C. Yeah. That was a thing. Back here's your G4 processor. Sorry, your G3 processor running at a whopping 233 megahertz. And up here is your RAM that I don't remember the actual capacity of, but I'm pretty sure it's bone stock, meaning there were no upgrades ever done to this machine. And if I can get Mac OS X to install on it, I'll actually be able to see more details in the About This Mac section, because, well, the About This Mac section in Mac OS 8 just kind of sucked. Alright, so the next thing to come out is the CD drive itself. It's held in by this little bracket with 2 screws, and it's spring-loaded, which is interesting, and I almost stripped out the screw there. Yeah. On a 20-year-old piece of hardware, the last thing you want to do is strip out the screws, because chances are nothing else is going to, well, especially if it's an Apple product, nothing else is going to quite fit. But the nice thing about working with these older Apple models is the fact that 9 times out of 10, these were just off-the-shelf components. These were not anything proprietary like Apple's known for today. So you could actually get by with a lot. Oh no. That is not a PCI, or that's not an IDE end that I have available to. Oh, you son of a bitch. As I was just talking about standard connectors being used on this Mac, I think I just ran into a problem that could bring this entire project to a halt. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, hold on. Let's get the hard drive out first and check, double check, and see. I'm going to take the hard drive out. I'm just going to fast forward to when I take the hard drive out. So, problems, several, exist right here in this setup. Okay, so, issues I've run into, possibly. Or definitely. Or maybe not. Actually, hold on. We may have hope yet. Okay, alright, so I'm going to have to see, but this configuration is actually kind of interesting. So, the hard drive is using a standard IDE cable, actually one of the ones I have here. But the disk drive, which is actually held on with this little magnet tie around thing. Is it magnetic? Oh yeah, you bet it is. They've held on with this little thing, a CD drive end. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how this is supposed to work. I think the CD drive cable, the one they're using, was actually carrying power to this as well, which means that I'm actually going to have to get another power supply to run this. But good news is they do have a standard IDE connector for the hard drive, which hopefully I'll be able to then double out and use my standard disk drive. Hopefully, that's the plan. But first I got to find a power supply to scavenge from something else. So I'm going to go do that. So I think I found a donor. Well, the PC that donated its disk drive to this project looks like it will also be donating its power supply, possibly. We'll have to see if I can run it without any hiccups. Maybe. I might just leave the power supply in the machine and use the power button because I don't have a switch to toggle it and I don't want to run jumpers. So that's a thing we're going to have to try, maybe. So let's run some cabling and give it a shot. Hopefully I won't fry this machine. You deserve whatever comes to you if you follow my advice for tech, because I shouldn't really be saying this because I work at a Best Buy. My tech advice is sound. You can trust what I say. Maybe I should, that should be what I let off with for tech advice when it comes to stuff that I say. As I shoot myself in the foot. Oh god, yeah, no. I think a majority of the weight of this machine is actually coming from the CRT. Granted, the giant steel chassis of the logic board doesn't help with its weight. This fat machine. Alright, so this is the point where we plug it in, hit the power button, and see if my jerry-rig everything approach to PC building actually worked, or if I'm going to be out a, 20-year-old Mac. So let's go get all the power cords and stuff and plug in my new iMac with a tongue. Alright, now for step one and the moment of truth to see if my little mod still works. Okay, that's different. Let's 100% assemble it and see if that makes a difference. So my thought process behind the 100% reassembly is the chance that maybe there's a safety or a ground wire or a ground connection using the screws, that maybe this machine has something like that. I wouldn't think that a machine like this, a machine from 1998, would have some sort of, safety configuration like that, but this is Apple, and this is Steve Jobs era Apple, meaning that they would go to fairly extreme lengths to keep the user from making contact with anything that could be potentially dangerous, including things like the power supply, or in a machine like this, the very, very highly electrified CRT tubes. So I wouldn't put it beyond them, but I'm going to just reassemble the whole thing and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, remember how I said that those tabs are pretty easy to break and that you should probably, that's always a pain, so you got to be careful when you go to put those tabs back so you don't break them. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Alrighty, so now with the machine 99% assembled, let's see if that makes a difference, if I can find the plug back here. This part never gets fun. Oh, come on. Oh, jeez, this stupid machine. Oh, I love and hate you so much. I forgot this drive is a quantum drive. Quantum Fireball SE. God. Sound off in the comments if you're old enough to remember a Quantum series hard drive. Those things are old as fuck. That really hurt. Oh, that was the muscle right in my hand. Alrighty, so now we get to see if I've broken the machine or if it just won't boot if it doesn't have all its components in. Oh, come on. I didn't do anything to change power or mess anything up in that regard. So what happened? What changed? What changed? What changed? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Did I just break this thing? So that's it for this evening. I'm officially out of time. I have to go upstairs and help with dinner, then go edit my normal videos for the evening, as well as this video now. Because whatever I did between taking the machine apart and then putting it back together with that extra cable in there, something stopped. It won't power on at all now. And I don't know what changed. So that's not a good sign. I'm not gonna have an opportunity to rip this thing apart again this evening. Hopefully it won't sit for too long, but yeah, something changed and now it's not booting up anymore, so I'm gonna have to figure that out in another video. I was hoping this would be kind of a one or two video thing. And it's still going to be a 2-video thing, it looks like. I just didn't intend for the second video to be just fixing this. So that's going to suck. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This is kind of some of the content that I want to try to start doing again, is just some of these off-topic videos or tech videos or things like this. But yeah, thanks for watching. Wish me luck on this stupid thing. And no, hitting it in the screen is not going to do anything. This screen will probably survive more damage than I ever will, so I can't believe I broke this machine. Alright, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one or whatever. Surprise! I bet you thought this video was over already, but it's not, because a day later, like literally one day after I did all the stuff you just saw, I came down here because I was feeding the animals that I have, and I fed my cat, and I came over here and just randomly, I just walked up and pressed the button, and it works. No idea why. The CRT's making a much louder click than it did before, as you heard that bang kind of sound. That's sort of disconcerting that it's making such a loud buzz when it starts up, but just works now. I don't know what I did differently or anything, but there's your little Macintosh there, and look at the little Mac. Nope. Never mind. Yeah. Cool. See you guys in the next video.